Let's give a loud round of applause for Kate Romero, you guys.
So, from age 9 to 16, I was raised on an 80-acre tobacco farm in rural Kentucky, complete with no running water, an outhouse, and wood stoves for cooking and for heat in winter and summer, which meant I carried in cords of wood, so many I can't even count them, and it was my job to be the water bearer, so I drew the water from the well with a pulley and a chain and a bucket from the well year-round for a family of 9 for cooking, cleaning, washing, laundry, you name it, I was the water bearer. And that had a magical effect on my body. And the magical effect it had was it made my muscles under my arms like RoboCop. But I was so young, I didn't even know what to do with them yet. And then, and also being the middle child of 7 kids in this situation was not fun either because I worked the hardest. I baled hay, I brought in the wood, I drew the water, I stripped the tobacco, I baled hay. Did I say that? Yeah, I baled hay uphill and downhill. It just felt like that. And so I outworked my brother, who hated me for it. But you know, I always wanted my mother's approval, and I wanted her love. But being the middle child's not easy to get your mother's approval and her love because you're just the one that does everything for everybody. And she was really, really hideously abusive to me. Like, just, you can't do anything, you're ugly, you're stupid, you're dumb, you're never going to be anything. And if you had the brains God would give a goose, it would fly backwards. And I'm still thinking about that. How does that work? So anyway, I'm going about life, and there's this man who comes to live with us on our rural farm in rural Kentucky, and he's a drunk. And he comes to live with us and my mother's boyfriend, Lucky, who's also a drunk. And he stays for a month, and he's not pulling his weight. So my mother looks at me, and she goes, "You're kind of strong. I think you should arm wrestle this guy, and if you beat him, he has to leave." And I'm thinking, he's really a weird guy, so all right, it's not comfortable to arm wrestle an adult, let alone one I don't know, so I've never done that before. So she goes and finds 3 phone books. We didn't have a phone, it was toilet paper. So she stacks them up in the chair and makes me even with this small guy who was drunk, and I arm wrestle him and I win. So he had to leave. I'm 11, and he had to leave. And I had a little bit of swag going on over that, you know, because I'm 11 and I beat an adult, and he had to leave. So I got his fishing gear. We didn't have anywhere to fish, but I still liked having it. But anyway, fast forward to, I'm 27. I'm the mom of a beautiful baby boy who's not a year old yet. I'm nursing him at the Del Mar Fair. His father is there, and he brings me there for a particular reason, but I didn't know why. So I'm off in a private corner nursing my beautiful baby boy, and I've got the post-pregnancy, long fingernails, long hair, healthy. I've got my figure back, and I hear over the loudspeaker, "Kate Romero, come to the main stage." And I'm like, what? There's another Kate Romero here? And then my son's father comes and finds me, and he says, "Come on, you got to go with me." And he takes our son in his arms, and he takes me up to the main stage, and I see all these women back there slapping each other and spitting on each other and cursing at each other and just getting each other all riled up so they can beat their opponent at arm wrestling. And I'm like, what? My son's father signed me up to arm wrestle at the Del Mar Fair, and I had this long hair past my behind, pulled up way high in these little pigtails with red ribbons, a T-shirt, and a culotte skirt with tennis shoes. And this woman, when I walked up to arm wrestle at the regulation table, which I'd never seen before, she looked at me and she goes, "This cream puff?" She looked like a school bus with lipstick. And honestly, I was terrified. And when the referee put me up there, he put my elbow in a donut, and he has hold this peg, and then he says, put your foot up on this here block, and I did, and my leg was going like a piston from adrenaline, and that had never happened before. And I think it had something to do with her calling me a cream puff. And so he says, go, and I went, wham, and I beat her. And I was like, what? And she started crying, mentioning something about my long fingernails. And I'm like, what? And then I realized I'd won, and I went, Rocky, Rocky! Yeah. And there was a trainer in the audience who had seen me do this, who wanted to train me for the world title. And I'm like, what? So I said yes, quite naturally. And when I did, he trained me, and I went into arm wrestle this wonderful, smaller than me woman who had the world title. Her husband was a referee in Pomona at the fairgrounds. And I was terrified of her because she was smaller than me, and this was new territory. So I went to arm wrestle her, and I was arm wrestling her, and she's super strong, and I'm pulling, and I'm pulling, and I'm pulling. I had her like a half inch from pinning her, and then I pulled my hand back, and I went, no, I can't do it. And the referee, who was her husband, said, what just happened? Why did you throw the match? And I went, because my mother in my head said I'll never be anybody, and I can't do it. And he said, kick that fucking bitch out of your head right now. And you beat her. You had her. And I went back crying, and he said, go, and I went, bam, and I beat her, and I took the world title from her that day. And it didn't matter anymore who won that match. What mattered to this couple who were crying with me and celebrating with me was that I had kicked that fucking bitch out of my head.